Welcome, adventurers. I'm GM Goblin, your GM Goblin, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally I do Pathfinder first edition content or content for your average GM or players, just all tabletop. Like a few other videos that I've had, I also will put in something about a game that I'm starting to play a little bit, or in this case, one that I'm hyped for. And this time, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. We're going to be going over Chrono Odyssey. This is going to be the interview. I'm going to be skipping through a little bit of this to cut through some of the dribble that they get through. A lot of it is what you normally expect. It's devs and creators talking about what they're trying to do to the world, how they're going to try and make the end game the same as just advancing, which is going to be something that is kind of hard for a lot of MMOs. A lot of MMOs, once you hit max level, everything's an easy and it's just repetitive grind. But the graphics look great. It's all made on Unreal Engine 5. It looks pretty good. And after watching some of it, it kind of has gotten me excited again for MMOs. I tried out TNL here recently, and I played it for a couple months or so. And then I was on like a number 2 guild, 3 guild, I think it was, for the server I was on at the time, and I really liked it and made a couple videos, but I fell out from it because of the full pay-to-win aspect, which hopefully this game does not have, and I just didn't have the time to invest to do the full-on PvP guild, and a lot of content is very guild-orientated. It's very PvP-driven. So Chrono Odyssey, which is kind of a fantasy horror game from a lot of it, this kind of imagery is something we're going to be going over because it reminds me of a game that I just picked back up just to play and see how it's advanced over the last 3 years since I left it. And that's New World. So if you've played any New World, you're going to notice there's a lot of similarities with the way this plays, along with some of the gameplay and some of the other aspects for it. But now it's not going to be gender locked, which is great. It will be class locked. So you're going to be picking classes. So it won't be in New World or some of the new ways that MMOs are working. You'll pick a class, swordsman, rogue, or assassin, I think they call it. And each class is going to have 3 different weapons. You equip 2 at a time. So once again, it's swapping like you might have in BDO, or like you might see more specifically in New World, where you have weapons. They did say that a lot of the content is soloable. So you're going to be able to go through a lot of it, even if you're just a healer, which makes me think that there's going to be one weapon for each of the classes that is specifically for damage. So they're going to be able to solo content easily, and then the other 2 will be specific more for their type. So like tanking, crowd control, buffing, or healing in those aspects. One of the things that you see them demonstrating here is the ability to experience the world, and it is just something that we saw in New World, and we thought we would get in TNL, but not quite. They had the grappling hook system and everything, but the reality of it was New World had it right when it came to exploration, because you could mantle and climb almost anything, and you see that here with the double jump and the moving on walls. It's a big open world. And I'm going to assume this is going to be similar to how they do with the teleportation, where outside of the image they had, there wasn't really any loading when you did teleportation from one area to another, like you might get with New World or pretty much any other MMO. So it looks great in that aspect. Once again, the world looks beautiful. It's really dark from the looks of it. Very gritty. Everything. World looks great. A lot of this kind of like time loss thing. Time is going to be something that they use in the world. You're going to have a chrono device like a clock that'll allow you to either change your time to stop time or to turn back time. You'll see it in a little bit of the screenshots that they've given you, or some of the video. This is a prime example. You've seen things like this in some of the other games, some of your Zelda games, where you turn back time or you mend something. And so it's going to be able to, using your chrono device, to figure out puzzles, which I'm really big on. It's one of my favorite things whenever you went through Hogwarts Legacy. I loved all the puzzles in the game. And it's also a big thing that I use in my tabletop RPGs as well. So they mention being able to progress in any way that you want throughout the game. And they mentioned that there are dungeons and labyrinths. So you're going to have solo content, your standard dungeons, labyrinths, things like that. They even mentioned that there's going to be raid content. A lot of the material looks to be small party or solo oriented. And then they've got mention of some raid content in there as well. They make a mention about the 3-person PvP a lot. And that's cool. And then they show a 5-man party. So I don't know if you're limited as you advance in the number of party members you can get, but this right here, especially, is something that reminded me of New World. So the New World crafting system, and especially the gathering system, was one thing that I loved. You've still got the wheel in there. Mining, it looks very much similar to what you do in New World, which was great for me because I like to just do a little bit of crafting and gathering sometimes. And coming from a game like BDO for the longest time, you'd run up to a tree and you don't know if that tree has a node or if that tree reset its node. In New World, and as we see the rocks and plants and everything kind of going away, they're vanishing. In New World, I thought it was amazing because you could chop down a tree and the tree would actually fall. Every single tree, I believe, was gatherable. I mean, it was fantastic. And so you can see the resources. We're pretty much all kind of used to this, but it shows promise that the gathering system is going to be up like that. And they make a comment that player markets, being able to craft your own kind of equipment, is going to be a big thing in the game. So all of you that want to come in and craft your own stuff are going to be able to gather all of your materials, and you're going to be able to craft things that actually make a difference and that players are going to want. Now, I don't know if the best of the best, so if your BIS, your best in slot, is going to be able to be crafted, but at least decent gear that you want will be crafted, and they even showcase some of the crafting in their talk. But it shows a lot of promise. It's all an action game. I just came from TNL, the last role MMO that I played. And so they were tab target, which was old, EverQuest, WoW, all that kind of stuff. But in huge mass parties, it's a little bit difficult to target individual mobs. And so I like the action economy. Action games like BDO is real popular with Korean games. And this it's very similar, like I said, to New World, which is not only good because you can sometimes with your weapons, like with a Warhammer, hit multiple opponents at one time. So you're not locked in. But it also means that kind of Dark Souls, that kind of rolling mechanic is going to be able to be there for you. It's you rolling out of the way, 2 misstrikes. It's you blocking from what we can see. Down here, you can see multiple skills from the looks of it and everything I've read. It looks to be a 4-skill kind of game. So it's not going to be like TNL where you have a total of like 12 that you can pull from either one of your weapons that you're using, but you use 4 for one weapon, and then you can swap and use 4 from the other. And it also looks like there's at least a light, if not, I've seen a delay a little bit, so a possible heavy attack, very much like I said, like New World. And here you see a 3-man party. Everyone's level 40, gives you their class. So Ranger, Barbarian, and Swordsman is what they call their fighter in this one. I'm assuming these are markers that you can give your party. And up here in the corner, let me see if I can do this a little bit. You see a flag right there above my head. And this flag is in, like I said, New World. And so right now it's PvE. You can hit one button and it is faction-based PvP. So if this holds true for this game, which a lot of the stuff and the feel comes from just basically a juiced up New World, then you'll be able to pop that. And they do show some combat between players in this, and you're going to be able to go ahead and PvP in areas. And there might be some PvP only areas. Certain games have islands and stuff nowadays where it is mandatory. TNL has this, New World has this, but you do see the resources, and you also see abilities firing off. As you see this, the other attacks, you see these abilities firing off. I'm assuming these are buffs on the characters, just that their abilities are giving them. And then of course you've got the an enemy bar that you're looking at. Numbers telling your damage and everything, dodging for the attack, still being able to see all the debuffs on your opponent, so you know if it has rend or some kind of debuff, so that your attacks are going to be enhanced. And then once again, over here on the right, like I said, now up here at the right corner, you can see it looks like to be what we would consider a quest log, but this is them in a hollowing pit, so I'm assuming a dungeon. This over here is telling us how far we are away from our other party members, because it correlates with the class that we have right here that are kind of tagged with those symbols. Let's bring me down to the bottom. Another thing that I've noticed, and you've seen crits. So there's a crit that happened in the back, and you can see sometimes there might be possibility to do crit from the front, but there's mention, and there was a mention by a beta player as well, that you can see a crit from an arrow shot to a head, which means there are going to have the ability for you archery types to actually excel in your craft by performing those headshots, at least from what I'm being able to see. Whether or not that will be your abilities or just like your light and heavy attacks, we do not know yet. And there is a timer on this, so that tells us that obviously some of these in our dungeons or group activity, they're going to be timed. Possibly another player right there. So there's possibility that you might be looking at areas. We can't see a PvP flag up here in the top left corner, but it's possible that, as they mention, as he mentions here, PvP, PvE, so player versus environment, VP. So it looks like certain areas are going to be locked into or have the option of you doing PvP while you're trying to get like a special mob. And the combat looks really good. It's really smooth. Don't know how movement while your attacks are going to work, because they don't show a lot of movements while they're attacking. So like in New World, they changed it a little bit, or not New World, but TNL, they changed it a little bit, because whenever we would attack, it would be extremely slow. And so I don't know, hopefully we can attack while we're moving and we're not just locked in, and they're just not showing it as well on all their maneuvers, but I guess we'll have to see. Here again, we see 4 abilities coming up on the bottom right. And so you see that they've got 4 abilities here. Like I said, you've got a shield emblem. So I don't know if this is going to be a button on your mouse. And then you've got a normal attack. So it shows that there are going the New World way, and it's going to feel very similar if you come from that world. And it should be simple to learn how to play. And that's really something that you kind of need to do. As you see him dodging around, really good, and blocking. So you need a game like this to be easy to learn and hard to master. So learning when to dodge, learning when to block, learning when to move and everything. It's going to be hard so that your hardcore players are going to have something to that looked like it was just a start, like it was part of your training when you first start the game. But you want to be able to have a game that's easy to go with, easy to learn, not too many buttons, not too much to overwhelm people, but still give that complexity of choice and give you the ability to master something so that you feel really good about whatever it is you're doing at the time. Lots of area attacks you're seeing here. Something that I loved in BDO, large swaths of enemies. The only problem was that's really all you did, circles and killing enemies. Another thing that they mention is that, like I said earlier, you can level up by doing however you want. So you can level up all the way just by doing crafting and just by gathering if you want. You don't have to follow the storyline. So unlike games like TNL, you can just grind for a level if you want. You can go around the world and explore like you would with Elden Rings or something, Elder Scrolls, and just find all these quests to level you up. Or you can specifically follow a storyline and try and find and go with just the main story. And I like the freedom of a game, being able to do that, giving the experience for just finding new areas in the world and just being able to grind, because I don't always want to just follow a storyline, especially if it's a bad one, because then you're just hitting F and that's it. I am pretty stoked about this. In fact, to the point that I started playing New World again, and just to play around with something that's going to be similar. And like I said, to see how it was. This is one of those bosses that I mentioned. And we were worried that this might be an instance or something like that, and that the world might be an instance, kind of like some of the games in the past where they're like, it's an open world MMO. It's not. You had different tiers of like the same zone that you're in. Like you go to Everfall or something, and there's like 15 Everfalls, and there's only so many players. This is a true MMO, true open world, true just big world, lots of players. And this is one of those open world bosses where you're going to have full parties, multiple full parties that are going to be fighting this thing for the loot. And I'm assuming it's going to be on a timetable, like what we get with a lot of the MMOs. More puzzles, jumping, things that like I said, I really love in a game. It shows off their engine. It shows off the ability to let players figure things out. I love it. This with the skills appears to be a paladin because of the weapons they're allowed to use. Might be a lance. Maybe it is a swordsman. I don't know. Looking at the crafting materials or crafting gear, they do have enhancing from the look of it. From what we can see when it comes to gear, but this is enhancing. This is enhancing your gear probably by magic slots. We can see up here at the left that there's a gem in your helmet, and some of your equipment have gem slots. So it's going to be able to slot in to enhance all of our equipment. It looks good. And so that was, for the most part, what you're going to see whenever you go through the dev talk, when you read the dev talk. This month is when the beta starts. I believe it's only going to be on Steam. You had to have signed up already. As of now, it is the 1st, so I haven't seen that they have announced the actual date yet, and I haven't seen any emails going out. I haven't checked today of if someone has already been given the playtest. But it is definitely a game that I'm super hyped about, and I'm hoping that they don't do the way of like AGS. They need to, one, listen to their player base, especially when there is bugs or there's something wrong. They're using Unreal Engine 5, so it's not going to be like New World where it's logging or logger or whatever their special engine was from Cry that they made that I think gave them a whole lot of the problems that they had. But it looks really good. There are going to be some classes that we're not going to be able to play. We're not going to be able to play the Paladin. It looks to be a shield and mace, shield and lance, and then a spear user. Like I said, I'm sure that the spear is like a DPS. It looks like it has lightning whenever they're playing with it. And then the shield and mace looks very much like similar to like New World, where you're going to be able to like heal and add buffs to possibly your teammates, for at least from what I've seen. At least that's kind of what I hope. Being able to tank with more than just the swordsman would be kind of nice. So if you have just the swordsman who's no magic, all blades, and being able to tank, and then if I want, I can be a paladin, which is going to give me that kind of elemental magical fighter feel and still be able to tank well enough, then that'll be perfect. The game looks great. Everything looks smooth. What I've heard, and some people have been worried that a lot of the stuff we see is not real. But these games take a long time to produce. And from what I've heard, and looked up. They seem to be real. So big open world, everything looks great. PvP is pretty good. I do not know if they're going to have gigantic PvP or like areas. I kind of hope they do. I really hope they go the way where you have getting into your factions divided into guilds, and then the guilds for those factions can all fight over different areas. Once again, it's kind of like New World. My biggest gripe whenever that game came out was the in-game watermark system, which what I see they don't have, and I really hope they don't have, because that killed the in-game. And then I hope they take care of the bugs. I think AGS really dropped the ball with that game, and I'm really hoping that they don't drop the ball on this one. Chrono Studios is producing or creating this game, but it's going through like Cacao games like the Black Desert, Red Desert kind of games from Pearl Abyss. It gives me a lot of hope. As long as they can keep away from play to win and it's not super buggy, then I think it's going to be a great game for us.